Today we turn our attention to the Kupiansk direction, where fighting has intensified significantly over the past days. What initially appeared to be another slow Russian push toward the city is now evolving into a much more dynamic battlefield. Ukrainian counterattacks are beginning to disrupt Russian forward positions and supply corridors across this sector, and as both sides commit additional forces, the battle for Kupiansk is once again becoming one of the most strategically important confrontations along the northeastern front. Kupiansk holds strategic importance largely because of its transportation infrastructure. The city serves as a key railway and logistics hub connecting northeastern Ukraine with several frontline sectors. Control over these routes affects the movement of ammunition, fuel, and reinforcements. Earlier in the war, Russian forces relied heavily on Kupiansk as a logistical center during their advance toward Kharkiv. After Ukrainian forces retook the city during the 2022 counteroffensive, Russia has repeatedly attempted to re-establish pressure in this region. And since then, the Kupiansk direction has remained one of the most contested sectors along the entire front line. Over the past months, Russian forces have gradually increased pressure along the Kupiansk axis. The strategy has largely relied on sustained artillery bombardment, followed by infantry assaults aimed at slowly pushing Ukrainian defensive positions westward. Russian units attempted to expand their foothold along several villages east of the Oskol River while probing Ukrainian defensive lines. This approach reflects a familiar operational pattern. Rather than rapid breakthroughs, Russian forces often attempt to create incremental advances through continuous pressure. However, the effectiveness of this strategy depends heavily on maintaining stable logistics and defensive cohesion behind the advancing units. And this is exactly where Ukrainian countermeasures have begun to interfere. Ukrainian forces have responded with localized counterattacks designed to disrupt Russian offensive momentum. Rather than attempting a large-scale breakthrough, Ukrainian units are focusing on targeted assaults against exposed Russian positions. These operations often involve mechanized infantry supported by drone reconnaissance and artillery fire. By striking specific segments of the Russian line, Ukrainian forces aim to destabilize the overall structure of the advance. When forward units are forced to reposition or retreat, the tempo of the offensive slows significantly. And in several subsectors near Kupiansk, this appears to be exactly what is happening. Russian forces are unlikely to abandon the Kupiansk direction easily. Reports indicate that additional artillery units and infantry elements have been moved into the area. Russian aviation may also play a role in attempting to suppress Ukrainian defensive positions. Air-dropped glide bombs have become a recurring feature of Russian operations in several sectors. If deployed around Kupiansk, these weapons could complicate Ukrainian defensive planning. However, the effectiveness of such measures depends on coordination and timing. And as Ukrainian counterattacks continue, maintaining operational cohesion becomes increasingly difficult. Looking ahead, several scenarios remain possible. Russian forces may succeed in stabilizing their lines and continue gradual advances toward Kupiansk. Alternatively, Ukrainian counterattacks could further disrupt the offensive and force Russian units into defensive positions. A third possibility is prolonged attritional fighting, where neither side achieves a decisive breakthrough. In such cases, the battle becomes defined by artillery duels, drone strikes, and incremental shifts in frontline positions. The fighting around Kupiansk illustrates the evolving nature of modern battlefield dynamics. Offensives are no longer determined solely by the size of advancing forces. Instead, success often depends on reconnaissance, logistics, drone surveillance, and rapid tactical adaptation. As Ukrainian counterattacks continue to disrupt Russian lines in this sector, the battle for Kupiansk is entering a new phase. Whether this phase leads to renewed offensive momentum or prolonged stalemate will depend on which side can maintain operational coordination under constant pressure. For now, one thing is certain. The Kupiansk direction remains one of the most closely watched sectors along the entire northeastern front.